They told me it wasn't no catching up, but just like it wasn't no room in the caddy, I had to lap them up. Now I'm in the gym doing 2-a-days. Push, push. Now I'm in the gym doing 2-a-days. Push, push.
And I'm getting money in any way. All I know is going getting paid. My moving weight like every day. Now I'm in the gym doing 2-a-days.
I'm in the gym doing 2-a-days. Push, push. I'm in the gym doing 2-a-days.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Run Up the Score podcast with Carl and Nunu, my co-hosts. Today we got a special guest in, a really close personal friend of mine. I'm excited to have him on by way of Memphis, Tennessee, originally from Chicago, but via Memphis, Tennessee right now, Mr. Clarence Jones with CJ's Custom Clothes. Clarence, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me on your show. Run Up the Score. Let's run it up.
Hey, so listen.
Real dapper.
Hey, I was talking to John Cooper last night, right?
Are you talking to my man Coop?
I was talking to Coop. All right, so Coop is the associate men's basketball coach at Oklahoma State. So what's interesting about CJ right here, they say CJ is my guy, no matter where I'm at. So I met CJ in 2007 at the Downtown Marriott in Memphis, Tennessee. It was me and you and Tony Stubblefield.
My
right?
man T.
Tony Stubblefield, who's now Tony is at Oregon.
Correct.
He's the associate head men's basketball coach at Oregon. CJ, kind of give everybody a description of who you are, what you do, where you've gone, where you've been, and then we're gonna get into it from
my name's Clarence Jones. I have a business called CJ Custom Clothiers. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Played high school basketball at Chicago, Martin Luther King, and Simeon. I played at the top two schools in Chicago. I played at King.
That's where Marcus Liberty from, right?
Marcus Liberty played at Collins before he got to King. Now, I was the original first year. Sonny Cox became the head coach. I was one of his players. Me, Ephraim Winters, Reggie Woodard, my best friend Tracy Dildy, who was probably one of the top 5 point guards in the Midwest as a freshman. So as time went on, you know, like I said, I played high school, college basketball, Kennedy King Junior College. I signed with San Diego State when Marshall Falk was the incoming freshman. I needed 3 more credit hours to graduate from JUCO. Did not know it, so I decided to go to a smaller school. Got into the custom clothing business. I've been doing custom clothing for 26 years. One of my first clients was my best friend, Tim Hardaway, who I grew up with. He started out doing custom shirts with me, and my business kind of took off from there.
Who are some of the guys right now that you have as clients, some of the guys you put clothes on?
Well, let's see, you go NBA. I've done Donovan Mitchell with Utah. Malik Beasley, who's with Timberwolves. I've done, let me get it going. Andrew Wiggins. I've done clothes for Andrew Wiggins, John Henson, Mason Plumlee, Miles Plumlee.
Duke boys.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably keep going as far as basketball related wise.
Let me ask you this: what made you get into the clothing game? What made you say, "Yo, I'm gonna make suits for guys, custom clothes"? What made you do that?
You know what? I actually fell into this business. What happened was I was at Lemoyne College playing basketball, and I saw the president of the university with a shirt on with his initials on it. You know, I was naive. I didn't know anything because I could dress. I was wearing Armani. I was wearing Hugo Boss back then. I asked him about his shirt. He said he had it custom made. Told me how much he paid. I looked at him and said, "That's all you paid?" He looked at me like, "Huh?" So I got the guy's number. I started getting shirts made from the guy. And what was so funny, I had the shirts in the back seat of my car. Now, I've taken home economics. I could sew. I got to Chicago. I saw my best friend Tim around close to his birthday, around Labor Day weekend, September. And I said, "Tim, you get your shirts made?" He said, "Yeah, Mook." He didn't say it like that, but he said, "Yeah, Mook, I get my clothes made." So I went and showed him the shirts I had made. He told me the shirts that I had were better than the ones he was getting made. and he wanted some made. I called the guy. I paged the guy because that's when we all had pages. The guy calls back, thought I was kidding when I said, well, my best friend, Tim Hardaway, want to get some shirts. He was like, Tim Hardaway who? I said, Tim Hardaway who played for Golden State. He thought I was kidding. I give Tim the phone. Tim tells me he wants some shirts made, gives me the phone back. Guy tells me he doesn't come to Chicago. I proceed then like, man, my man wants some shirts. What I need to do? He said, go to a Walgreens or a hardware store and get a tape measure. The guy walked me through how to measure Tim for some shirts. I did Tim 2 shirts. Rest is history.
So the style of your suits is reflect the Chicago vibe, or would you say that international vibe?
No, I wouldn't say that. My style reflects the individual person who I'm making the clothes for. Most of my guys now are more into the European fitted look, the tapered look,
The flooded pants and all that.
Right, the flooded pants. So that's what I make. I have, I had to diversify myself because I was against it because I just didn't like it. But people was always influencing me like, listen, in order for you to get to that next level of young players, you got to change. I was like, okay. So I started making European type clothes for the players, and things started to take off. Now, granted, I've been on the Kings of Comedy tour. I was one of the guys that was making clothes for Steve Harvey, Cedric Taylor, D.L. Hewley, Eric Rohn, who was from St. Louis, KB, who's from St. Louis. Even Conzo Martin, who's at Mizzou, I was making his clothes when he was at Purdue. So I had to learn from all these different guys that I made clothes for to be able to diversify so I can fit in with the trend that was starting to take place.
On average, what would be the price of a suit from Clarence?
You know what? To be honest with you, it kind of varies. With me, it's not about the money. It's more so the relationship. So I do keep my prices around $13.50 and up, depending on the fabric of the suit, not to make the fabric. And I cut a lot of deals for people, man. I know $13.50 may be expensive for a lot of people. I make suits for as less as $850 for people just because I want them to have it. Not
if I spend $800 on the suit, Clarence, I'm wearing it every day.
Huh?
If I spend $800 on a suit, Clarence, I'm wearing it to work. I'm wearing it to work kids out. I'm wearing it to a funeral. I'm gonna be looking up funerals in the newspaper just so I can wear it to the funeral.
Well, but you got to realize, I'm going to just say this. I have doctors who like to dress. I have attorneys who like to dress. I have principals. I got insurance people. I got my football players really love to dress. Before the Rams left, I had Robert Quinn and I had Michael Proctors. I had Chris Givens, the wide receiver. Oh man, I was, I was doing some things in St. Louis. I cried when they left.
So the suits mostly like.
So when you got a lot of NFL and NBA guys, right?
Yes, I do.
So you and I both know a lot of the agents, okay, they try to pick the guys who wear the suits or who make the suits for the guys, rather, I should say. How are you getting the most of your business? Have you done so much that it's referral based? Are you getting any help from any of the agents at all? How are you continuing to build your clientele in such a competitive environment?
Well, number one, I pray every day. That's number one. I let God handle everything that needs to be done for me. I pray about it. God gives me an opportunity. Fortunate for me, because I have been in the business for 26 years. I'm the only minority guy, and anybody can look it up. I'm the only minority guy that's had NBA and NFL best dressed 3 times. I've had numerous number 1 lottery pick players. What has helped me mostly outside the praying is the relationship that I have built with a lot of agents. Roosevelt Barnes and Eugene Parker, I've been knowing them guys for over 20 years. Eugene and Roosevelt gave me my first opportunity over 20 years ago. I've done some work with David Mutageta at Athletes First, Chaffee Fields and Joel Siegels. I've done work with them. My guy Safari Law, who has a STL, he's given me a few players. So, I mean, it's still tough for me to get them. My guy Rick Roberts, he gave me a couple of guys this year who's with the Ballinger Group, him and Stan Wilkes and Martin out of New Orleans. And plus, I do a lot of my own recruiting because I do have over 40 athletic directors I make clothes for, 40 college coaches. So, I mean, everyone is always trying to help me. I won't say that a lot of agents help me. I would say a few agents do help me with players. Some agents will only give me a couple of guys because most of the agents who are minority agents that are out there, people don't realize this, they still work for somebody. They may recruit the player, they may get the player, but when it comes time to make a whole lot of decisions for them guys, they still got to answer to somebody. And so it still makes it a little difficult for me to kind of get in and do what I do. I mean, I meet players all the time.
So the agents like run interference for like kind
of. Oh my gosh, yes. The agent wants to run everything that the young man does. I mean,
that's not good.
If I meet a young man and I've been talking to him for 2 years, an agent, depending on the agency he goes to, the agency already has someone that the company uses. They will move me out the way. Just so happened this year, I picked up DeAndre Swift. You know, I was referring him from a guy out of Philadelphia. Just so happened the agent was David Mutageta. The father asked me, what did I think about Dave? I said, hey, Dave's an awesome guy. You couldn't do wrong by going with him. I called David, told David I talked with Mr. Swift. Mr. Swift wants to roll with me. David didn't interfere. David was like, no problem, CJ. We all good. You see what I'm saying? But some of the other guys who have players, they make it difficult for me to get them.
Okay. So in this business, is it competitive? Do you compete with a lot of guys?
Oh yes, I compete with a lot of minority guys as myself, a lot of Caucasian guys who are in this business. I mean, you have some guys who get in this business just to make the money. They don't really care about the player. They're only concerned about the money. Me, I care about the player. So I don't make mine about the money. I make mine more about the relationship.
You got to be big on relationships because everybody know you. I mean, literally every time I talk to somebody, they like, man, have you talked to CJ? CJ is my guy. It never fails. I could be at a Major League Baseball game. I could be at the doctor's office. I could be, I can be somewhere down in Miami and they're going to say, man, I saw you talking to CJ on Facebook, man. Like you got it going on in terms of the relationships you built. How rough was it this year with the NFL draft not happening and them going virtual, and it really wasn't a lot of suit action in the draft this year because of the nature of how we had to do it because of the COVID-19?
Well, first of all, fortunate for me, a lot of the guys that I would have been doing for the draft, I saw them in January, like Henry Ruggs, who went number 12. I had already taken them clothes. Cam Densler, who got picked up in the 3rd round to the Minnesota Vikings. I had already delivered clothes to him. Cody White, who was an unrestricted free agent from Michigan State, I had already taken clothes to him. You know, I have clothes for Shaheem Carter, Jared Pigney. I mean, I have suits for Marlon Davidson, who I have not been able to deliver because of the COVID-19. Patrick Queen, who got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. He was another guy that I couldn't get close to. Christian Fulton got drafted 2nd round to the Tennessee Titans. He's another young man who I couldn't get close to. Neville Gilmore, Dallas Cowboys, another one. I mean, Cam Akers. I mean, I could go on. I mean, I had probably over, if you looked at the draft between the 1st and 2nd round, I had 9 guys.
Is this a competitive business, or like is it a lot of minorities in this?
Yes, it is. It's a very competitive business. You have a lot of cutthroat cutthroat people, which I don't understand why. It's enough business for everybody to make money. You know, you just got to get out here and build your relationship. But everyone wants to cut corners to get these players. Like I said, fortunate for me, the relationships that I have built over the last 25 years, and not only that, me playing basketball, being a former athlete, has helped me tremendously.
So you got like the Deion Sanders approach. If you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. Play good, they pay you.
Well, I've always felt that way. I mean, even when I was in high school, my high school coach, Sonny Cox, used to tell me all the time. He would say my nickname was Mookie. So he would say, Mookie, you ought to do something in clothes, because I dressed up every game. I was always dressed. And he told me, he said, you ought to do something with clothes. And I laughed at him. I said, man, I'm shooting a jump shot for a living. And look what happened. Years later, I tore up my shoulder. I was going overseas. I tore up my shoulder. I ended up getting into custom clothing. I even make my old high school coaches shirts and stuff. So, I mean, he laughed. He said, I told you go do something in clothes. I never would have thought it. And by me being from Chicago and all the guys I grew up with, they all became assistant coaches.
Yeah.
So they all referred people to me. So when you do good business, people refer people to you.
What part of Chicago are you from?
I'm from the south side of Chicago. I was born on 51st in Indiana. I grew up in the South Shore area, down the street from Gail Sayers' daughters, kids, his house. I grew up around Walt Frazier, Jesse Jackson Jr., Jesse Jackson Sr. If you walked up to any of them and said my name, you said Mookie, they're going to all say, we know him.
Was it hard? Was it hard growing up in Chicago? Because we talking like you was growing up, it was like the 70s and the 80s, right?
Correct.
So was it hard to circumvent that gang culture and that gang life and stay on that path?
I'll say this much. I hung out with a lot of gang members because I was a basketball player, and they always made sure I was good. I'll tell you that much. I could walk into any neighborhood, and I never had a problem.
All right, that's what's happening.
And the reason why is even to this day, I still go down on 39th and King Drive, where the El Rookin Fort used to be on Cottage Grove. And even though I.B. Wells, the project is torn down, a lot of guys that I, hung out with when I went to King High School, I still go see them people when I'm in town. And you rest assured, I can leave my car driving, motor rolling, and I don't have any problem because I still see those same guys, and I still give them a little money, and I still buy chicken wings, eat French fries with them. You see what I'm saying?
Off of Harold's Chicken.
That's right. That way, Harold's Chicken. I mean, all of us who played basketball in Chicago that grew up that way, we still do. Even my boy Tim Hardaway, when he go home, he still go back and see folks he know, and you still get love to people. You never forget where you came from and the people who looked out for you growing up. Made sure that everything was safe.
So, so you Chicago to the bone, right?
No doubt.
So you got The Last Dance going on right now, the documentary with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, right? And you're a basketball guy. I know you from basketball. I got to ask you, man, Michael or LeBron, who's the greatest of all time?
Truthfully, go with Mike. Reason being is this. Don't get me wrong. I've met LeBron. I've talked to LeBron. LeBron, I'll say this. World Wide West told me this when LeBron was a junior in high school. He told me that LeBron James will be the #1 player in the draft when LeBron was a junior in high school. And so when World Wide West tell me something, I got to take it to the First National Bank of cash because he's always been on the dollar.
All I'm gonna say to the fat man Jarran Reed, all I'm gonna tell you is this, man. When you talk about Michael Jordan, he played against some scrubby ass white boys. LeBron is playing upper echelon competition night in, night out. Come on, man.
I won't say that because back then you had the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you had the Magic Johnson. Look who you're talking about, Larry Bird. I mean,
So you honestly,
who in the NBA? Who in the NBA today could outshoot Larry Bird?
is you for real?
Not J.J. Redick. None of them could outshoot Larry Bird on their best day.
This is what you got to realize about Larry Bird. His three-point shot was a high school shot, the three at the top of the key. The line back farther now. Come on, man.
It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. What I'm saying is, in Michael Jordan's era, yes, Mike was the greatest of all time because he's 6-0 championship, 6-0 MVP. But I got to give LeBron credit. He's been there 9 times. He's taken two different teams to the promised land. I got to give him that. He said he was going to a championship in Ohio. He delivered. But one thing I will say about this, Mike didn't have to leave Chicago to go somewhere else to pair up with somebody else to be better. Mike made the guys around him, Pippen, Grant, Cartwright. He made those guys better. That is the only reason why. That is the only reason why I would always say Mike is better than LeBron.
Now let's talk about that. That first 3 championship the Bulls won, Ron Harper was the point guard. The man ain't no slouch.
Ron Harper was great.
Great is the man he was probably the best lockdown one-on-one defender with a ball handler.
Behind Jordan, yes.
Yeah, hold on now. And then they had Grant. Grant was probably the best power forward in the game when he went to the Bulls.
I agree.
So when you say he didn't have players, both times, both three-peats, he arguably had the best rebound in the game.
But what I'm saying is, before Michael Jordan got to those 3-peats, he had to take some whoopings now.
Because
LeBron ain't took no whoopings like Mike.
Huh? The man ain't 6-0 in the finals. Only the difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James is this. Mike is going to lose in the first or second round of the playoffs. LeBron lose on the biggest stage in the finals. That's the only difference.
Well, it only counts. It only counts on the big stage in the finals.
But he took his lumps. He took his lumps on the biggest stage in the finals. Like when Michael Jordan would lose, he'll lose in the first or second round of the playoffs.
He did. But Mike learned from that, and he got his guys to become better. LeBron had to leave Cleveland to go team up with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade to get that championship. Mike didn't do that. He helped groom those guys to become better. That's why I'm always going to say Mike is better.
That's that Chicago win, Reed.
LeBron had to go get Anthony Davis. He out there in L.A. He had to go get Anthony Davis to get better.
Going to L.A., when he went to L.A., LeBron, the roster that they had, me and Carl Reed and 3 other people could have beat them. The roster that LeBron got when he got to L.A. was trash. He needed Anthony Davis.
Well, he did what he was supposed to do. He got rid of people. This is what
people don't say about Jordan, right? No, he didn't leave Chicago, but he brought in arguably the best rebounder in Horace Grant, right?
Horace Grant was drafted.
No. Grant came from wait a minute.
You talking about
Horace Grant was drafted.
You talking about Dennis Rodman?
No, I thought Grant came from the Magic.
No, he went to the Magic after he left the Bulls.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Pippen, all them guys was drafted.
Hey, you can't
tell me how many guys LeBron had drafted and he made them good
Chicago
and they went to the championship.
Hey, I can't
name somebody that LeBron drafted that he made good and went to the
Kyrie was drafted by Cleveland.
Kyrie came after LeBron was gone.
Yeah, he did.
Then LeBron came back. He wouldn't have got that championship if it wasn't for Kyrie.
So you honestly think Michael Jordan, because we base what we say about Michael Jordan off championships. So he won 6. My man Bill Russell won 10, 11. Why people don't even consider him?
They consider Bill Russell. They do. But you got to look at the position Michael Jordan plays. Michael Jordan won it from a guard position, which was never heard of.
Okay.
They never would say a 2 guard could win a championship. Championships are won around centers.
Yeah, it was a big
Jordan changed the way the people looked at the game.
There you go.
He was transcending in that. So PJ, I want to get off of the Bulls thing because we can go about Jordan and LeBron. You know, we can do that when we stop recording behind the scenes a little bit more later. One of the things I want to ask you, I was talking in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we had the NFL draft this past weekend.
Correct.
I was with a couple of guys. One of them just got picked up in the league, and a couple other are going. And you deal with a lot of agents, right? You deal with a lot of financial advisors. How important is it does the player need to know how important it is that he's in charge of his own career, and that I see a lot of players kind of taking on a relationship that they're working for their agent when in fact their agent works for them. So how important is it to the player to be responsible for taking over his own career?
The player is. What happens a lot of times when players pick an agent, here's a guy you barely know, I'll say maybe a year. I'll give them a year. They let the agent take over everything they do. The parents, they let the agent, they say, well, we're paying this guy. We're going to let him do everything. And what happens is the player gets out of touch in who's in control and who isn't. Players don't understand that they are the ones that make all the decisions. I tell my players all the time, you have your agent separate, your financial guy separate, your tax guy separate.
So you don't want they shouldn't so the player shouldn't let the agent find his financial advisor and all that.
No, he shouldn't. Because the thing is this, most players change agents after their first contract. If you fire the agent, you got to almost fire everybody
and start all over.
I had a similar situation with Grady Jarrett with Atlanta. Grady agent brought me in. Grady ended up firing the agent, kept me for 1 year, and then let me go. No matter how good a work I did, it's because I came with the agent.
And the new agent want to get him a new suit guy.
Get him somebody else. Now, me and Grady
on average, how many suits will one player order? Like let's say you dealing with Cam Newton. How many suits would a Cam Newton order?
I wouldn't deal with Cam Newton.
Okay, well, let's pick somebody else. I had
an opportunity to deal with Cam, and his people wanted his clothes for free.
Ain't nothing free in this world. Huh? So let's take let's just give me how much.
Let's say DeForest Buckner.
Let's go with that. How many suits would DeForest Buckner order?
When DeForest Buckner got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, he bought 8 suits from me for the first year. He bought 8 suits the next year. He basically anywhere from 6 to 8 suits a year.
And you actually go to them and measure them up and all that stuff?
I fly out to California when he was out there in San Jose. I had Eric Amistad. I had Bruce Irvin out there with the Oakland Raiders. So them guys buy 6-8 suits a season. My guy Bernard McKinney, he buy 8 suits a year. Michael Proctor's, he was buying 6-8 suits a year. I mean, I only would push 6 to 8 suits, and they're only for away games. And then when they come, if like they're going to clinch the playoffs, we'll do a couple of suits for the playoffs.
Okay. So let me ask
But
this.
when you got 10 or 15 guys, you can imagine
Everybody
the
ordering
numbers.
6 suits, you eating good.
No question.
So how I guess I'm trying to say how is what made you move to Memphis away from Chicago?
Well, my mother sent me to Memphis my senior year of high school. She said, "You got to go." I was like, "No problem." My mother put me on a Greyhound bus, and she sent my clothes later.
Mm. And you've been in Memphis ever since.
I've been in Memphis off and on. I've been to Virginia because I used to be in the military also. I used to be in the Navy.
Right. So if a young guy, let's say a guy gets out of college and he have a style similar to yours, he really is into fashion. What could a young person do to get into your profession? What would be the steps?
Well, I mean, number one, if a person, a lot of guys get in this business. Number one, they get in it. Some people get in it for the wrong reasons because it's easy. Everyone thinks making custom clothing is easy. You know, hardest thing being in this business is getting the clients. I mean, most guys get in this business because the first thing they want to do, everybody want athletes. I want to make clothes for athletes. It's getting athletes is not as easy as you think. I mean,
Did you have to go to school?
No, you don't have to go to school for it, but you got to have a network. I mean, you got to have people that's willing to help you get to these players. You know what I'm saying? Most agents, again, because most of them work for certain companies, you know, most of them, I'm going to say they're like company men. They got to almost do what the company tells them. They might be able to slide you a guy here, a guy there, but you may not get the premium guy.
So you kind of giving the impression that agents need to be watched. You need to watch your agent.
I'm not going to say they need to be watched. I'm just saying the parents need to have more control of what their young men do than instead of relinquish everything to an agent. I mean, don't get me wrong, agents are good to have, but most agents, if you let them do everything, they're going to do it all.
In today's market, in today's climate of sports, do you think kids necessarily need an agent, or that's something that they don't really need?
They don't really need agents because nowadays NBA and NFL are slotted. I mean, you can get an attorney to look over your contract, but a lot of these guys get agents because the agent has already been there. You know, I'll tell everybody to go watch The Scheme. The Scheme is with my guy Christian Dawkins. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like he said, agents and runners have been paying players for as long as you can remember.
Absolutely, they have. Yeah. What?
You know what I'm saying?
So, CJ, if somebody wanted to what social media, what means can they use to get in touch with you? If somebody listening to this show and they want a CJ's custom Clothiers suit, how can they reach you?
Well, I'm very easy to reach. I mean, most people can call me at 901-378-8273, or they can go to my website at CJ Custom Clothiers, CLOTHIERS.com. They can go to my Instagram and DM me, Clarence_2525. I mean, I'm real. I like
if I come all the way to Memphis, can I get my suit cheaper? Because that $1,300 killing me.
Man, listen, I come to St. Louis and it's still gonna be cheaper.
Well, I need me one of them fly pimp suits, man. I need one of them. I got to have one.
It's not about money. I like St. Louis. My man Carl there. I got clients in St. Louis. So
I like Jarran Reed too,
St. Louis.
Hey, well, Clarence, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. We're gonna get together here later on for sure, and we appreciate having you today. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate you having me on the show. One other thing, Carl, before I go, you said something that caught my attention. You said something about some guys going to the NFL. I need to have those guys.
Hey, we're gonna talk about that off the air. My guy.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. Holler at me
All
if
right.
you ever have any questions. If you need anything, holler at me.
All right.
We'll do, Clarence.
Appreciate you for having me on. Run up the score. Let's run it up.
My guy.
Peace.
Right on, fam.
Clarence Jones is as connected of a person as you'll meet in all the sports. I think the important takeaway that I want all of my viewers and my listeners to hear from today's show is this. There is a life in sports outside of just playing the game. Clarence was a good high school player, was a quality college player, but once his playing career was over, he found a lane creating suits for coaches, for athletes, and for athletic administrators. If you look on any draft in the NFL or the NBA, you'll see his mark all over it. 3 times he had the best dressed client in the draft. You can do anything that you put your mind to in sports, build relationships, and have a quality career outside of the game by using your network. This is the Run Up the Score podcast. Keep working.
I'm in the gym doing 2 a days.